to another ZoidRush video. Hopefully this one is not muted. I clicked the stream button and it's just bad, so we're just going to go from here, give one whole take, hopefully this time, and not mess up. So first things first, hello and welcome. Like I said, I hope everybody had a good week. Happy 4th of July if you celebrate 4th of July. If you don't, I hope you had a great weekend. Anyway, lo and behold, I was doing some research one way or another, and I was doing some research on some topics, and esports lately is just throwing things right on my lap, and I'm just like, this is golden, baby. This is great. I don't have to do too much research at all because it's fresh, it's new, it's right off the grill, and I am loving it. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Anyway, long story short, guys. So last week we talked about Wild Turtle and TSM, which was a shock in itself because it was like we discussed there how TSM was this top team and how it could be top team and top 5 team in the worlds at one point. Now we're talking about replacing an ADC, but we did see Wild Turtle play today, so it is a possibility that he may or may not be playing in the future. We'll just have to see from there. But then this week we saw on LOL Esports Twitter that we would have an emergency jungler switch on Cloud9. Everybody's like freaking out at right now, and it said that High was going to be the emergency jungler, and I'm just sitting here going, what? And everybody's going, what? And everybody's confused and worried and what the heck. And lo and behold, not too long after, Cloud9 released on their website an announcement stating how Meteos is no longer going to be in the jungle. He is stepping down and still going to be in the Cloud9 um, organization. Well, this is a shock. This is really confusing and shocking because not too long ago, like I said, we were just making videos and talking about how High was stepping down and how High was making problems with Cloud9 and how he was really struggling. He couldn't keep up with the mid laners, if it'd be the top tier mid laners like Polbelter and Murison or Wei Zhao Wei or Zhao Wei Zhao. Sorry, I apologize. And Phoenix, he couldn't even keep up with those. Yes, he was doing decent. Even against Link, he was doing decent, but he never really was succeeded, and he was never really carrying the game anymore. And it just seemed like his shot calling was becoming reckless, and he seemed very stressed out. Yeah, continuing on with that ordeal. So now we have a few things. I think we should talk about Cloud9 itself. Cloud9 was this unique, strange team. They came into the NAC scene and they pretty much steamrolled. They dominated. They were all successful in their lane. It was just notorious if Cloud9 was even or ahead in their lane when they first came out. Of course, is when they first started. That they would just steamroll and dominate the game and win one way or another. And they're just strong players like that. And it was hard and it took a while for teams in the NA to figure it out. Some people still struggle, but ultimately they ultimately succeeded and they ultimately beat Cloud9 one way or another later on. But as Cloud9 stated, we've talked and many other people have talked about this before. Cloud9 was a unique, strange situation. What do I say by that? The best way to compare them is to Moscow 5. No, I'm not saying they're Moscow 5 in any way, anyway, but they are similar in aspects because Moscow 5 was in their unique, strange kind of ordeal as they were in themselves. If you looked at Genja, he was more passive, kind of wait there. He only take opportunities he knew for sure that he could get like kills on. And you had Gosu Pepper, now known as Edward, back to Gosu Pepper, just being this dominant support who could land the grips, make the plays, not afraid to die for the team. And then you had the top lane, Darien, who would feed to win, yes, that running joke, but he was a dominant Aatrox, and he dominated the top lane with Renekton many times, and he was very dominant in one way or another. And then you had this great synergy, this weird synergy with Diamond Prox and Alex Ich. Diamond Prox being this young, innovative jungler who was just dominating at one point, and some would say one of the better junglers in the world at the time. Was just doing amazing things in jungle and just could gank and just be very efficient, very, buy a bunch of wards and have vision heavy and just be the strong, dominant jungler who people looked up to. And Alex Ich, who was really adaptable and could just pretty much mold and form into anything the team needed. So if they were like Master Yi or Kha'Zix or Rise or Ari, whatever the case may be, Alex Ich was there, and he finally said, "I'm done with that." And from that point on, you saw Cloud9 or Moscow 5 kind of struggle, and I think it's the same thing with Cloud9. Cloud9 had this unique, weird synergy, which you would think none of these players would work together, but they do. It's just weird like that. They all have their unique, different kind of styles that they play, and they just kind of mesh together, and it was a dominating, wrecking force all over again. And some would make the comparison Moscow 5. I wouldn't go that far, but someone could make that comparison. You know, you had the balls in the top lane. Who would be your main carrier, which was a little bit different. Balls would be on Rumble, and he would make or break fights a lot of times, being one of the top dominant people in the top lane in NA. And then, of course, you had High, who's the shot caller and whatnot, which we'll talk about in a second here. Meteos in the jungle, who had this weird, unique style in himself. He would always farm, and he would always be very particular on how he ganked or how he worked in the jungle. And then, of course, the bot lane, who was just always went even or was ahead in their lane, you know, sneaking Lemonation. A lot of people give Lemonation shit now, but I still think he's one of the better Morganas and one of the better articulate players who just doesn't care. He's gonna go in there, he's gonna cause ruckus, he's gonna fight, he's gonna land some grips, and sometimes his call's been a little off lately, but overall, I think that's who we really have to thank. I mean, Sneaky's an amazing ADC, but if it wasn't for Elimination, I think Sneaky wouldn't. I wouldn't say Sneaky was going to struggle, but Sneaky wouldn't be who he is today, one way or another. So, talking right into the shot calling, because we're just going to get this all out and out of the way. A lot of people were worried about this. This was the main thing that when Cloud9 was switching out High, they were like, oh my god, shot calling is going to be a huge deal. Who's going to do the shot caller? Maybe they'll give it to Meteos, which I hear a lot about, which I'll mention. Um, you know, they said, oh, maybe Meteos will shot call, or why can't our Incarnation shot call? And that's what I was saying. I mean, there's no point of really switching the shot callers. I know Incarnation's coming into this. He's new. He's fresh into the scene, and LCS is all kinds of different. But I don't understand why he couldn't just go right into shot calling and be taking on that role. You can look at Bjergsen as a good example of who kind of came into TSM and was that role. He came in, he was a dominant player, and he still shot calls and makes the main calls for TSM. But also, I wanted to mention, and people have mentioned this before, that shot calling wasn't the biggest thing and biggest and baddest thing that you had to worry about, honestly. I feel that there are teams out there that just synergize well, and Cloud9 was one of these people we could use back when they first started. I could not say that it was because of high shot calling back in the day that they were just so dominant, so particular on what they did and how they did it and how quick they did it at times. And I think they were just all dominant people that just clicked and meshed together, right? One way or another. And then I say the same thing for other teams. It's not that the shot calling is a very eminent thing. Yes, there's somebody that probably makes out a call and be like, oh, you know what, we should grab Dragon, or you know what we should do is we should go over and grab Baron, or let's take top tower and then rotate to mid. Wherever the case may be. I don't think this is the make or break thing, and I think a lot of people will put too much emphasis on this. Yes, High was doing great in shot calling, doing an amazing job how he was, but ultimately he is not the make or break of the team, especially at the beginning. He was doing extremely well at just Cloud9 overall, and I feel like I said, the shot calling wasn't a make or break thing. And then going forward, we had High step down, like I said. Incarnation came in, and I think there's another name blame kind of ordeal. Incarnation, a lot of people hyped him up. A lot of people were like, oh, he's the first in the West. He's on ban. He's playing with Cloud9. Cloud9's going to be this dominant player, and this high expectation, this high hope. And I feel like people put too much emphasis on solo queue, which brings me right into the next thing. People, I think, thought that Incarnation was going to come in here and just be like this dominant mid laner from the EU side, and he's going to give Bjergsen a run for his money, and he's going to just take it all, take it all. And I can't. They kind of got false hope at the beginning because they did beat TSM in the first game. They came back, and Cloud9 was like, "Hey, look who we are!" And then, of course, now Cloud9's struggling and going hard off the gate, or bad off the gate, and still struggling. And they're in panic mode. But I think a lot of people have to understand. A lot of people have to understand that solo queue is completely different than the LCS stage, and the LCS stage is completely different than World stage because you're going against the best at Worlds. I mean, they're a world contender, you're a world contender. That's why you're there, and you're going head to head, and you know eventually one comes out as the top champion for that year. And I think Incarnation had needs time to adapt. I'm not saying that he hasn't had enough time to adapt. I mean, it takes a while to adapt and get used to things and the flow of things. And I think that's the first kink in Cloud9's kind of like whole mess and ordeal. It's the same thing that you see with Gambit. Alex H left and they were in shambles for a little bit. They didn't know who they wanted to be in their mid lane for a while and this, that, and the other thing. And same thing with Cloud9. I mean, they were just this well-running oiled machine that could always pull through with their usual team. Maybe they weren't a world team, but they could do well in NA. And I think Incarnation needs some time to adapt, like I said, and just getting used to the LCS stage. Because at this point now, it's hard to come in being just off a solo queue, being banned from the pro scene for at least a year, and then come in and be like, hey, I'm this dominant player, which is not the case. I mean, completely different aspect, in my opinion, from solo queue. And then you move forward, and we got the shock that Meteos, this is the main point of the video, is Meteos is stepping down. And Meteos, I hope things are doing well, and I hope everything's alright, and I hope to see you again in the future as a jungler. You did really well. You were dominant at one point, probably one of the better junglers, one of the more unique junglers in NA. And, you know, everybody was mad that High was coming in. This is where I put an emphasis on subs. I feel like Cloud9 didn't have a substitution in place, or Cloud9 didn't have somebody that could really fill that role one way or another. If somebody did get sick or somebody was not really doing well, and I don't think High was a bad choice. Looking at his game, yes, they did lose, but you also have to understand and realize that I did pretty good. I mean, if for somebody who went from mid lane to jungle, you'd think, oh, this is just like a Team 8 ordeal, how they're switching all these people around, or another team that switches their manager and puts them into the ADC spot, and their ADC's going in the jungle, and this, that, this. And High, I think, did adapt pretty fast and quickly if it was an emergency thing. Um, I think he was prepared for it. He was solo queuing, did the best he could. And for somebody that picks Rek'Sai, it's not easy peasy to just do. I'm a terrible jungler, and I can tell you first things first, I cannot Rek'Sai. But I think High did an amazing job, but I don't think we'll see High in the future. I think they will look for somebody. I think that's the main thing here. Will they look for somebody? Yes. I don't think High's, like I said, going to stay in there. And I hope to see Meteos back. I hope Meteos kind of gets over his slump and Meteos can get through whatever he has to get through and come back. And that was one thing I really wanted to mention is Cloud9's PR ordeal. When Cloud9 releases a player, or when Cloud9, says a player is stepping down and whatnot, and just even starting with High and anybody else that was in the Cloud9 organization, they really didn't taint Cloud9's name, and they didn't really make Cloud9 look like an asshole. The PR didn't conflict with the person that was stepping down, and this person that was stepping down didn't make a bunch of drama, which we've seen many times in other organizations. And it just seemed that it was just very respectful, really peaceful, and I give you credit for that, guys. So the Cloud9 organization, nice job on what you do, and I hope you continue to do that in the future when you get completely new players, because it's going to happen eventually. We're going to eventually see a whole new Cloud9, because just we retire. They retire early, and it's just how it is. But overall, not to make this video too long, Cloud9 right now is a unique, interesting place, and I think they will ultimately do well and do great. And I hope to see them bounce back from this slump. It's going to take some time to getting used to. It's going to be different. It's going to be unique, and ultimately, Cloud9, Meteos, I hope you do well. I hope things are doing well. And last but not least, don't the name blame on Incarnation. I don't think it's Incarnation's fault, really. I think there's other things that are going on. Like I said, a lot of switch ups and mismatches that are going on right now. And High coming in there is probably not the best thing or the best situation. He did do well, so congratulations, High, for doing quite well on your jungling. But ultimately, we're probably going to see a new jungler. I can't give you any suggestions for the jungler. It sucks to see Meteos go, like I said, but it was probably the better choice. Meteos wasn't making an impact, and I kind of mentioned this with other junglers. Everybody says TSM's still the top team if they want to make that argument, and I still mention how Santorin, yeah, they're replacing Wild Turtle right now, but Santorin's just sitting there, and there's times where Santorin, you can tell when TSM's going to lose, is when Santorin's been in the jungle for 10 minutes, and you're like, all right, they have a jungler, but he's farming or he's doing whatever. And I feel like Meteos was falling down that same slump. It was just like, all right, they have a jungler and he ganked once, and okay, this is cool. But I do hope that the meta shifts and everything changes. And like I said, I can only hope to see Meteos again. If we don't see him, new opportunity to see somebody maybe overseas again, maybe from EU or Korea or even China right now. Those are the top teams right there. Maybe grab somebody that we don't know. which would be exciting, or maybe we'll actually see an NA jungler. That would be kind of cool to have an NA team still. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you disagree with my opinion or what I have to say, leave a comment down below. Make sure you like it, share it, so you can click the subscribe button at the end, and I will see you all next time.